The American people have enjoyed a high level of prosperity for so long that many have begun to take that prosperity for granted. Unfortunately, many, if not most Americans, do not understand how our economic system works. Additionally, even fewer seem to understand that without constant entrepreneurial innovation and proactive risk-taking in pursuit of new business opportunities, existing businesses may not survive, and the needed new businesses, industries, and jobs will not be created, and our American prosperity will wane. There are 4 key points that I want you to take away from Lesson 2. The first point is this: every day, Americans and the other people in the world make countless choices about what they want to do, what they want to buy, and how they want to live. It is their collective choices that make up the free market. The second point is that because over time, people's choices continually change, our economic system is always in a constant state of change, with some jobs and industries being destroyed, while other new ones are created. This is particularly true today, as American business and American workers all compete in a global, highly competitive world market. The third point I want you to take away from this lesson is that it's the private sector, especially small businesses, where most jobs are created. The government has less to say than many think about what businesses and jobs are created. That power rests both with the individual consumers around the world who collectively make free market choices about what they want and need and value, and the private sector entrepreneurs who respond to the changing wants and needs of society by creating products and services to meet those evolving needs and wants. The fourth point that I want you to understand is this: while by all rights we should have confidence that our entrepreneurial American free enterprise system can continue to create prosperity for our citizens, over the last several years we have seen a sharp drop in the number of entrepreneurial startups with employees in our country. If this disturbing trend is not reversed, the ability of our country to continue to create the jobs needed to maintain and grow our prosperity will be at great risk. So let's get started with Lesson 2, which is titled The Free Market, Cornerstone of American Prosperity. Every day, millions of Americans and billions of other people around the world make choices about what they want to do, what they want to buy, how they want to live, and so on. Their choices determine what we as a society value and find important. These collective choices comprise the free market. Since what each of us like and want and need and desire continually changes, the free market is constantly and relentlessly changing. Many products and services and skills that we value one year don't have the value the next. As a result, our economic system is constantly in a state of transition, with some industries and jobs being destroyed, while other new industries and jobs are created to meet the marketplace's new demands. In some cases, we no longer want certain products like typewriters, horse carriages, and record players, but instead seek other products like computers, cars, and iPods. Sometimes we seek the lowest price, while in other cases we bid up the price of goods in short supply. Because every day we make our choices about products and services based on price, quality, product features, and services, the free market is a highly competitive one. In the end, however, consumers are the main decision makers as to which businesses and jobs will decline or fail, and which will grow and prosper. Once that choice was mainly among American products and services. Today, however, because technology has made worldwide communication instantaneous and shipping across vast distances very easy, our country, businesses, and workers are now all competing in an increasingly competitive worldwide marketplace. Standing in the way of that marketplace driven by the collective decisions of billions of individual consumers is about as effective as shoveling sand against a tide. So what are we to do? First, while one cannot ignore the anguish that marketplace changes have on the people who are personally affected and lose their jobs, we must realize both the loss of millions of jobs each year and the creation of millions of new jobs each year is not a new phenomenon, but rather a consequence of how our economy responds to our changing needs and wants. Secondly, we have to understand that while government may regulate the free market to ensure the basic health and welfare of its citizens, it has less to say than many think as to which businesses and jobs are lost and which are created. Instead, that power rests primarily with the millions of American households and businesses that make their free market choices about what goods and services and skills they want and value. With this second point in mind, let's consider the lessons of the past. As history clearly demonstrates, an economic system planned and controlled by the state, that is, the alternative to the free market, where government, not consumers, determine what should be produced, that kind of system has never been proven to work in practice. One only has to recall the economy of the Soviet Union prior to the fall of communism in 1991. Then, lines of consumers waiting endlessly for empty shelves to be filled, people waiting years for substandard housing to be built, and hopelessly out-of-date factories offered evidence that a communist, socialist economy planned and directed by the state simply could not work in practice. One present-day example of the same is to see the food shortages and long lines in Venezuela, which their state-run economy has caused. My third point as to what can be done is that we need to have confidence that our free market, free enterprise system, driven by the entrepreneurship of the private sector, will continue to create jobs in the future, as its long track record demonstrates it has done in the past. My fourth point is, since the large majority of all new jobs that are created in the United States are created by small businesses, not the large mega corporations that dominate the news, it is very important that we encourage and support the economic policies that support small business development and the spirit of entrepreneurship in our country. While by all rights we should have confidence that our entrepreneurial American free enterprise system can continue to create prosperity for our citizens, over the last several years we have seen a sharp drop in the number of entrepreneurial startups in this country. A couple of years ago, I called a staff analyst at the Small Business Administration and asked him if he had any data that showed how many new startups with employees were started up each year. The data file that he pointed me to showed alarming trends which we are continuing to track. Take a look at this bar chart that shows the number of small business startups with employees over the last 25 years. What this graph shows is that during the 1990s and until 2008, the number of startups with employees consistently averaged between 1,700 and 1,900 startups per million population. However, beginning in 2009 and continuing through 2012, which is the latest year for which data is currently available, the number of startups with employees dropped dramatically, which helps to explain the relatively slow economic recovery our country has experienced since the Great Recession began. If this disturbing trend is not reversed soon, the ability of our country to continue to create the jobs needed to maintain and grow our prosperity will be at great risk.